we come to Daniel in chapter 6. We find that the Medes and the Persians had taken over the kingdom of Babylon. At that time, Daniel was still working for the Medo-Persian king, whose name was Darius. And Daniel was one of the 3 top administrators in the kingdom of Darius, the Medo-Persian. And he was working with those who did not believe in his God. But he worked better than all the other people, and he attracted the attention of the king, and he earned a place of respect. So in our country also, if we have a Christian testimony, a strong Christian testimony, and we are working amongst unbelievers, we should have so much integrity that we stand out from the rest of the people who are working. And if we follow the Lord, and even if we face problems, it is God who's going to help us out of it. So we, as believing Christians, can influence the non-Christian employers and colleagues by working faithfully and diligently and being thoroughly honest and doing our responsibility to the best of our ability. Then slowly people will want to know who you are and why you think as you do, and they can be introduced to Jesus. For example, a man of God was working in Germany, and there he was a non-Christian, and there he was worshipping idols. And so one of his colleagues, when he saw him doing that, told him, "You're not worshipping God when you worship idols, you're actually worshipping demons." And that's very famous, that very well-known engineer, he was struck to the core. He remembered the words of that German man who told him that he's worshipping demons when he worships the idols. So he found out that that German was a Christian, and he took the Bible and he started reading it for himself to find out how these idols are not so idol. They have demons behind it. And as he was reading the Bible, he was convinced that idol worship is also demon worship. And so by reading the Bible, he turned to God. And today he's a well-known figure in the Christian circles. And he is honored by the Christians because of his stand. He became a Christian, his family became Christians. But many times when we do such things, we gather enemies for ourselves when we stand for God and are honest and don't take bribes and don't speak bad things about others behind their backs and don't gossip and don't try to impress the boss by our wrongdoings and whispers. Then we make enemies at work, although we are doing a good job. So when we begin to excel in work and our co-workers become jealous of us and give wrong ideas about us and spoil our work, then how should we deal with it? How should we deal with it? Yes, then we should not be a target where other people point fingers at us. We should always be above reproach so that no one can blame us for anything. Secondly, we should be transparent and have nothing to hide. So the enemies of ours will have no proper charges to make against us. We should be above board at all times, and no finger should be able to point at us. So we find that God will not always save us from these attacks. He may allow us to go through it so that we depend more and more upon God's help and depend more and more upon His protection. So especially in India, this is a problem with Christians who are working in the government service or in the secular world. They stand to be targeted by others. So we find the same thing in the time of Daniel. So we find that the officials who were working with Daniel were very jealous of him, but they couldn't find anything to criticize him with. So they attacked his religion. So our jealous workers too may criticize us for our faith, and when this happens, we should be glad. Peter tells us in his letter that you should be glad when you suffer for being a Christian, because then the grace and glory of God has come upon you. You should not be caught for stealing and lying and taking bribes. That is not to be done. But if you suffer for being a Christian, the grace of God and glory has come upon you, and you'll get eternal rewards. So they may have focused on our religion as a last resort because they cannot find fault with you anywhere else. Same thing they did with Daniel. So we should continue to believe in God's goodness and live a godly Christian life no matter what happens. And we must remember that God is in control of everything concerning our lives, and it is He who fights our battles for us. It is God who fights our battles for us. And the same thing was faced by Daniel in the kingdom of Babylon, and now in the Medo-Persian Empire that you are probably facing in your workplace. And we have much to learn from this experience of Daniel. God be praised.